What's poppin', y'all? It looks like somebody got dug out of the coffin because we're getting some updates on Sofago where he might actually be on Jackboys 2. Now, this is plus and minus. This is like... We're getting positive news and negative news at the same time. I've got certain info about Jackboys 2 that I can't really put out there, and I didn't ask anybody about Sofago, but for sure we're getting some new Sheck West. I can say that much, which is very exciting. But off rip, where this starts is from Sofago's manager. At this point, we were like, yo, Sofago hasn't really dropped anything or hasn't been consistent since 2021 after Pink Hearts. He was not consistent after that. He had that Go project after. But Bobalam posted a story that came from Barry Hefner, the manager for Sofago, that felt like he was teasing a Sofago project because he said Jackboys 2 on the way, ILMB, I Love My B, that's by Sheck West. So they were in the club, they were playing that song, it was just releasing. I don't know if it released at this point. I think it had just released. And this gets things moving. It gets the conversation going like, yo, is there actually going to be a Jackboys 2? What's the deal? And then Coachella is where things take it up another notch. So Vault of Sofago, which is a Sofago fan page, this is one of the best fan pages in general. Because most fan pages are, man, they're D-eating, they're D-munching, they're not... I hate to use the word holding a person accountable because it comes across as very, like, who the hell are you to hold me accountable? So I don't really like using that term, but it's an individual that actually applies pressure on the artist and isn't just trying to cower for them and defend them at any cost. So he says Sofago was the only Cactus Jack member that did not attend Coachella today. And if you're thinking, after we had already gotten some, I guess you could say heads up, potential teasing of the upcoming Jackboys 2 from Sofago's manager, you're like, well, he would have to at least be at Coachella, right? And then we get some information, and then the same account says, from unconfirmed sources, he was in Discord playing video games. And I believe it was his manager that also said, like, yo, just because y'all didn't see Sofago doesn't mean he wasn't there. He's not necessarily trying to just pop out and be seen all the time, which I can understand. And then this account also posted, this was brutal. I don't know if this account was the first one to post it, but I remember seeing it. Sofago has lost almost 150,000 followers since his peak and is now under 700K. I wonder how this psychologically affects certain artists. I remember, I believe it was either YBN Amir went through this for sure. Also, Lil Pump went through this, but he's got so many followers that I don't think it affects him as much. But who was Lil Pump with? Man, my memory's really tripping out. The guy that made Audi. Smoke Perp. How could I forget that name, man? That was a crazy era in music. So yeah, these guys have lost significant amount of followers, and every time they post, they lose followers too, which is quite discouraging. Like, you're thinking, okay, I'm giving an update, and then people are remembering, oh, I still follow this guy? Let me hit that unfollow. Yeah, that's got to be quite brutal. But we got some updates from the manager himself, where he finally said, Fago is actually there. Just because someone not taking pictures or on stage doesn't mean ish. Everything ain't performative. And then a fan replies and says, why the F is he nowhere to be found? How are you and his manager Lamar making money off him exactly? Why is he not dropping music? How the F did he not tour yet? Why was he not mentioned to be on Jackboys 2 by Chase B? You don't just forget that Chase B, OG Chase B, is the DJ for Travis Scott. They go way back. We're talking when Travis Scott was doing the Classmates type of stuff. What is happening with him, please? And he says, I was about to answer all this. I think it's time for Fago to answer these questions. He says it's the least he can do. And then he says, bruh, he doesn't owe nobody nothing but to himself. LOL, bruh. This is his dream, not yours. And then the account says, so F the fans? End of the day, we're the ones that got him here. I guess he don't owe us anything. Barry, again, all respect. I speak for everyone when I say we just want music. We don't want to argue with you on here, and I know you don't. And then he says, never mind, said F the fans. LOL, bro, you dramatic as hell. And he's talking about Sofago. And I'm in agreement here. I don't think Sofago needs to address anything until he's coming back. So if the guy's ready to full on come back and do the rounds and appear everywhere, then he can answer these questions. But to just give the answer, I think it's a waste because there's a lot of, not anticipation for Sofago, but there are a lot of questions surrounding him. And people remember the run that he had. And yeah, some people say, oh, what dream, bro? He hasn't dropped a project in 2 years. And he says, bruh, how are y'all this slow? You don't get to determine someone's worth, dreams, how it's scaled, or nothing. What if they man got what he wanted and realized he don't want it no more? What if he changing his course in life? You don't know that man. And I think he's trying to dance around it and not really, he's trying to give the message. He's trying to give the signal without giving the message. And it seems like Sofago just wasn't ready, maybe, to handle the level of fame. Perhaps he didn't want this level of fame. But we would continue to get some updates. And one of them was Sofago liking Travis Scott's Jack Boys 2 IG post. So potentially either that's he's still cool with Jack Boys, or he's going to be on Jack Boys. We're not entirely sure at that point. However, Babalam put out a video clip where he explained, and he's talked to this guy Barry as well as Lamar, who is Sofago's manager. I don't really know in what capacity Barry Hefner works with him. I think he does some business stuff for him. These artists usually have a couple of different people that are handling things for them. And Babalam went on to say this, which gave more context to the situation.
Man, and this is coming directly from his manager like 2 years ago. When I talked to Lamar, he basically said Fago didn't want to drop music with Travis because he wanted to do it on his own until he was like, he wanted to be the famous artist, maybe not the famous artist, but like the artist that made it by himself. Like he didn't want Travis Scott to be the reason that people say, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get that. Well, I don't get it, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
Listening to this, it's a bit confusing, although I do understand the manager's perspective and frustration. The managers likely just had enough. And so many fans try to blame management or a team or something outside of the artist. But the majority of the time, when something's not happening for an artist, it is not because of the manager. The manager is always trying to facilitate things. The manager is almost never blocking something from happening. And the manager is almost always operating in the best interest of the artist's career, which is different from the best interest of the artist, because obviously I would say that their interests are not aligned, but their incentives are aligned for the career of the artist, because like, hey, this guy makes more money, I make more money. And it's different from, I guess you could say, the exploitative relationship between a record label and an artist, because a record label has a roster that's like competing and they may shelve the artist depending on someone else dropping. The manager doesn't really have that type of thinking. So a lot of managers have gone through this to where they try to get maybe an artist off of drugs, or they try to get an artist to release more, and they start operating in this damn therapist role. I promise you guys, it is not the manager's fault. It is the artist's fault that you have to blame 99.9% of the time. Because you got to think about it. These artists are these managers. They also manage other artists. And if the other artists are doing just fine, what does that tell you? And by doing just fine, I'm talking about dropping, doing all the artist stuff. So with Sofago, if he wanted to do it on his own, you would think he would be continuously dropping. Like, for instance, he didn't take the opportunity to perform at, it wasn't Coachella, it was... Well, he performed now at Coachella. That's why it's coming to my mind. By the way, this new Bell song is hard. He's done an incredible job. He's shown Sofago on every year what he could have been doing. And I truly believe that Sofago could have been on this level. Maybe not to the same degree of popularity, but actually, I'm willing to say that. It was Rolling Loud. So Yeet was just consistently dropping. The year that he was going to perform, or he got offered to perform at Rolling Loud, he declined it and then did his own small tour. Sofago ended up going on tour, but opening up for Nav, which was a decision that I critiqued. I think Babalam critiqued as well. And many other people thought, yo, why are you opening up for Nav? Yeah, you're going to do bigger shows, but like give us, the fans, especially his core fans, what we want to see, which is just you. We don't really care to see Nav. But I think more than anything else, I would personally like to know an answer. I understand why they may not want to give an answer to the fans. Because if Sofago's legitimate answer is, hey man, I made it and I'm comfortable making the amount of money that I'm making, maybe dropping a song here and there or leaking a song here and there, because after this whole fiasco happened, a ton of songs were leaked, and if the fans just want the music, they just want the music and they can listen to it. But I think fans want more than the music. They want the artist, especially underground fans, they want the artist to reach the potential that they believe the artist can reach. And if Sofago tells them like, hey guys, I don't really care to become a famous artist. I don't like being recognized on the street. I like chilling at home. I don't need a lot of money. I like eating at nice restaurants, which I can afford to do. And I like playing Roblox and Minecraft and Apex Legends and Valorant and whatever other game is popular right now. Call of Duty, I think. And I'm fine with that. And I'm good at existing for now. Like whoever else gets popular, like good for them. Fans don't want to hear that. If that's the honest answer, they're going to be mad at that. Like, man. So he can't even answer like that if that's the truth. I don't know if that's the truth. I think there's an element of fear. A lot of artists that don't, and especially after Pink Hearts. So when Pink Hearts wasn't panned, but it didn't live up to the hype, which he set an impossible precedence for hype. I think he just became scared to drop. And this is something that's happened to a lot of artists over the past 10 years. They just psych themselves out. And instead of continuously dropping, they're like, okay, I got to figure something out. Maybe they take a break for a while. And then the longer that they take a break, the more fear that they have to drop again. And I'm willing to say that's more likely where he's at with it. Because you can not be famous, or you can choose not to blow up more. You just don't do interviews, don't do performances, don't appear on other people's stuff. But you could silently drop on SoundCloud or just Spotify. You could silently drop on there because it doesn't seem like Jack Boys is holding him back, and his management is saying that he could drop whenever he wants. So he could just drop song after song, maybe like one a month, maybe one every couple of months, and that would be that. But I do think there's an element of fear of criticism from dropping, and that's just my idea on it. I don't even know if the guy's still making music, but let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. I think Jack Boys 2 will give us a lot of answers, and it kind of goes against the saying of he wanted to do it himself if he ends up on Jack Boys 2, but you can always change your mind. It's been years. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed, and I'm going to see you on the next one. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Go to helloyassine.com. Thank you for watching. Peace. Well, it looks like in the middle of editing this, we got some good news, and that is that Sofago should be on Jack Boys 2. There was a cover art, kind of like a DVD cover, that was a teaser for Jack Boys 2, and we see the names on there, like where the acting credits are usually, directed by Harmony Korine, and then you got Travis Scott, Sheck West, Don Tolliver, Wally the Sensei, Sofago, and Chase B. And this also started with the Jack Boys 2 trailer in the video, and you can see a frame of Sofago. Now, this is great. We're finally going to see the guy come back on, hopefully he has a hit on Jack Boys. But one thing where I got to bring in some criticism is if he wanted to do it himself, like Baba Lamb said, and that was the information he was brought, then why the hell would he hop on Jack Boys 2? Because that completely goes against the whole theory of Sofago wanting to do it himself. Because now he just waited a couple of years for Travis Scott so he can be on Jack Boys 2. Now, Sofago never said it out of his mouth that he wanted to do it himself. But if that was the case, then this just seems to be the opposite of that, and he could have just been dropping this whole time. Regardless, though, I am looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to Jack Boys 2 as a whole. I did a video on it, I think, a month ago or a month and a half. It should be a month ago. But yeah, that's all I got to say on the topic. Hopefully, Sofago has got a banger on here.